Hello everyone, I am the Wolf Cook and welcome to the Wolf Kitchen. Today we have another Wolf's favorite. I will be cooking a bone-in ribeye steak with mashed potatoes and green beans that will look like it was made at a 5-star restaurant without that 5-star price. With my technique and my step-by-step instructions, your steak will be so tender and so juicy. I will show you how you can eat like a boss for a fraction of the cost. Of course, as always, my recipe will be delicious and have you saying, that's good. That's because my recipe is already wolf tested and wolf approved. Now, for those of you who are visiting for the first time or you have not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and notification bell and let's get started. Now the first step is to show you the ingredients we will be using today. The first ingredients we're going to start with is fresh cut green beans. And to the green beans we're going to add sliced red peppers, chopped red onions, and 1/4 stick of butter. And our next ingredients we have 2 potatoes peeled and cut up and ready for boiling. And the ingredients we're going to add are dried chives, garlic powder with parsley flakes, and about 1/8 of a stick of butter. And we're going to add this to the potatoes while they are boiling. And now for the main ingredient, 2 bone-in ribeyes that have been resting at room temperature for 30 minutes. And these ribeyes are over 1/2 inch thick. And to season our ribeyes, we're going to start with coarse black pepper, coarse sea salt, garlic powder with parsley flakes. And once we finish seasoning to cook the steaks, we're going to add avocado oil, 1/8 stick of butter, and fresh thyme. And now we're going to bring this all together. And now we're going to boil the potatoes. Now my water has been boiling, and into the boiling water we're going to add the potatoes. Next I'm going to add the garlic powder. Now I'm going to add the chives. And lastly, the butter. I'm going to give it a quick stir. I'm going to cover and I'm going to let it cook for 20 minutes. Into a heated pan, I'm going to melt my butter. Then I'm going to add the green beans. Next, I'm going to add the red peppers. Now I'm going to add the chopped red onions. Then I'm going to stir it up. Now I'm going to add some salt. Now pepper. And now a little garlic. And now I'm going to stir this all in. And now I'm going to cover and let this cook for about 7 to 10 minutes on medium heat. The green beans have been cooking for 7 minutes, and now it's time to check. I'm just going to give them a quick stir, but they have been cooking nicely. They look good. They appear to be done. Now I'm going to turn off the fire and I'm going to cover them back up. And now it's time to season the ribeyes. Now the next step is to season our ribeyes. And we're going to start off with the coarse sea salt. And I'm going to be very generous with the season. Next, I'm going to add the black pepper. And again, I'm going to be generous with the season. And next, I'm going to add the garlic powder. I'm not going to add as much garlic powder as I did the salt and the pepper. Now I'm going to season the second steak the same way as I did the first. Now that the first side is seasoned on both steaks, now I'm going to flip them over and do the same thing to the second side. I'm also going to season the side of the steaks. Now that both steaks have been seasoned, I'm going to get these steaks ready to go onto the cast iron griddle, which I'm going to preheat the cast iron griddle for 4 minutes. Now the cast iron skillet has been heating on high for 4 minutes. And I'm using a cast iron with grill marks because I want to cook it just like you're cooking it on a grill outside. So I'm adding the avocado oil to the cast iron. I'm going to use a brush to make sure the entire inside of my cast iron is oiled, but making sure the oil does not cover the griddle because I want those grill marks. Now the cast iron should be plenty hot, and now it's time to add the ribeye. My technique is to make sure that the side of the ribeye touches the outer edge of the cast iron so it can also cook. I'm going to cook this steak to medium. That means I'm going to cook this steak on 3 minutes per side. However, halfway through, or at 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'm going to give it a quarter turn to get those grill marks. And during this cooking process, it is very important not to use a fork or a knife to stick or cut the steak. When you're cooking a steak, all the juices moves to the center of the steak. That's why it's important to let the steak rest after you cook it between 5 and 10 minutes. This will allow the steak juices to redistribute itself back throughout the steak. And this resting creates a juicy and tender steak. If you do not let the steak rest after cooking or you cut into it too early, this can dry out the steak and cause it to be tough. Now at this time, I'm going to add some butter to the cast iron, but I will not baste. Next, I'm going to add the thyme. Now that the steak has been cooking for 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'm going to give the steak a quarter turn. Then I'm going to cook for another minute and 30 seconds. Now it is 1 minute and 30 seconds later, and now it's time to turn over the steak. The steak has been cooking for a total of 3 minutes on side 1. Again, making sure not to poke the steak, I'm going to use tongs. Look at that. Look at those grill marks. That look fantastic. And look at that crust. That looks delicious. I'm also making sure the edge of the steak touches the outer edge of the cast iron. Now I'm going to let this cook for 1 minute and 30 seconds before I give it a quarter turn.
It has been 1 minute and 30 seconds later on side 2, and now it's time to give it a 1/4 inch turn. Now I'm going to let this cook for another 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it should be done. Now the last 1 minute and 30 seconds have passed, and now it's time to come off. Look at that everyone. That does look good. Wolfalicious good. Now I'm going to let this rest for 7 to 10 minutes, and now it's time to work on the other ribeye and the mashed potatoes. My potatoes are done cooking, and now it's time to make the mashed potatoes. I'm going to start by dumping the cooked potatoes into a larger bowl. Earlier I forgot to show the milk as an ingredient, but I'm going to add some milk to the potatoes. Next, I'm going to add some more dried chives. Then I'm going to add the 2 slices of butter. Then I'm going to use my potato masher to mash all the potatoes up. Next, I'm going to use my large spoon to continue the mashing process. At this time, you can add milk to get the right consistency or texture you're looking for. Keep stirring and add more milk if necessary. At this time, you can add more seasoning such as salt and pepper if you like. Now I've got it to the right texture I'm looking for, and now it is time to plate. Now the first item I'm going to add to my plate is the ribeye. The ribeye rested for about 8 minutes. Next, I'm going to add the green beans. Next, I'm going to add the mashed potatoes. Now I'm going to add some garlic butter to the top of the ribeye. And now I'm going to finish plating with the thyme. Here you go, everyone. Bone-in ribeye with green beans and mashed potatoes. Now here is the second ribeye that I cooked. This ribeye was cooked a little longer because I wanted it medium well. Look at that, still juicy. It rested for 7 minutes. I'm going to make a couple of cuts to show you all how juicy it still is. This is why it is so important to let the steak rest. With each cut, it is still tender and juicy. If you ever cut a steak before it rested, all the juices wind up in the plate and not in the meat. Look at that one more time. Delicious. I can't wait to eat.
Well, everyone, my 5-star steak dish is done. And it's time for me and Mrs. Wolf to enjoy the fruits of my labor and sink our teeth into this meat. And I don't even have to ask Mrs. Wolf if she is ready to eat, because I know she is. Who wouldn't be after seeing this dish? I want to again thank everyone who keep coming back to my channel. I truly appreciate you. Now, before I go, make sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, the notification bell, leave a comment, hit the share button. Also, tell your family, your friends, co-workers, and even those neighbors to tune in to watch Wolf cook them a delicious meal. Thanks for watching and see you soon.